Hello, everyone. Good morning. Trust you're doing well. Okay, so in this video, I would be showing you how to prototype this particular design that we have right here on Figma. So we're going to be looking at the basics, basic interactions, the click events, the swipe events, changing the state of components, and a few other things. So right here, we're going to generally be looking into how can we go about, prototyping this design to make it interactive. And we're going to be starting directly right here from the splash screen. And then we're going to, navigate all the way down into several other flows of this particular design. All right. So without further ado, let's get started. Okay. So now we have this right here. And this here is our splash screen. And like we all know, our splash screen as a screen you get to see whenever you open on a particular application. So from the whenever you open applications, an example of a familiar application you all might have used, I would say Netflix. The moment you open the Netflix application, you get to see the black screen with the animated logo coming in, and then it takes you over to the next screen, depending on if you're a logged in user or if you are or a new user. Okay, so a splash screen, it doesn't require any form of interaction being done on it. It just comes, and then it appears, and then it leaves, to it changes, to a different screen depending on the screen you actually have next. So what we're going to do here is we're going to be prototyping starting from the splash screen. Okay, now if you're on Figma, you could actually see on the right side over here, you actually have the prototype section right here at the top. And what we'll do here is we're going to come over here and click on prototype. Okay. Now I will be showing you the long way and the short way of going about prototyping your designs. Okay. So one quickest way to prototype your design is this here, right here. You can come over here, click on your design or the screen rather, and if you look over at this frame I have over here, you can actually see this connecting dots. You always get to see that at every angle. You can see we have that right here at the top. We have that right here at the right hand side, at the bottom, and on the left hand side. And literally, it doesn't matter wherever you're going to be dragging this from. Okay, at this point here. So what I will do here is I could just come over here and then drag this over to the screen I would like to navigate to. Okay. Then after you have done this, you're going to be saying something like this right here. It's going to ask you for a trigger. It's going to ask you for what's the action that's going to occur after that trigger has been performed. It asks if like currently here you have navigate to asks you for the particular page, which is basically going to be automatically filled. If you get to use this process, it's going to map out those pages automatically. Then you have animation. What kind of animation do you want to have? While transitioning into this new screen or frame. Okay, so this is a longer way of doing this. But for you to be able to understand this perfectly and clearly, I will be showing you the longer routes to go about prototyping this. Okay, so what I'll do over here is I'll simply just close this. And for me to easily delete this prototype, I can just click on that link there and just click my backspace or delete. And I've deleted that. Okay. Now, I have the splash screen over here, and what I want to do here is to have this screen, show for few seconds and then, dissolve and head over to my onboarding screen. Okay, so what I'll do over here now is to prototype this, I'll come over here, all right, after clicking on the prototype tab, I'll come over here to where I have interaction and I'm going to click on the plus. Okay, now when you do that, you're going to see this next. Now, what this actually shows here is the trigger. And it asks, what exactly do you want? What exactly or what action do you want, to trigger this particular prototype or this particular, you know, um, um, this particular animation or prototype you're about to do. So what do you want to be the trigger for this particular, prototype? Okay, or this particular interaction that you're about to create. Now, if I click on this right here, we have several triggers. Okay, and I'm going to explain them one at a time. Now we have on tap, and what that means is when you get to tap on that selected item, that is what on tap means. You have on drag. And what on drag basically is when you get to drag, like in this case here, you get to click and drag an item, that's the trigger. You also have while hovering, and that's more like your cursor. When you hover on a particular item, you have while pressing, and that's while holding down on a particular item. You also have your key or gamepad. And with this right here, you can actually see it maybe on key press. Maybe when you click on letter Q or you click on letter T or you click on your arrow key, that's for the key or the gamepad. Then you also have stuff like on mouse enter, right? When a mouse, enters a particular element, what that is a trigger, or when the mouse leaves, the trigger. Also, you also have like touch down, touch up, and also after delay. Now, in terms of after delay, what that simply means is, you setting a timing on how much time that particular item or element or screen, in this our case here, is going to stay for. All right, so you're going to say, okay, after 3 seconds or after 4 seconds, do this. That's the trigger. So the moment you actually land on that screen, after a particular amount of time that you set, this is a trigger, do this. Okay, so in our case here, because of our splash screen, if you recall, the splash screen actually, shows when you open the app, it shows for a while and then it goes off. So in this case here, I'm going to be using what's my after delay. Okay, now after you have set the after delay, the next option you have right here is delay. How long do you want the screen to wait for? And the delay is always measured in milliseconds. And if you all remember, 1,000 milliseconds is equals to a second. Okay. Now, in this case here, for my delay, I would say, okay, you know what? I want this here to wait for 2 seconds. And that literally means the delay in this case is going to be 2,000 milliseconds. Okay. Now, that is what the delay does. Then the next thing you have right here is action. And this asks, after this trigger, right? After this trigger is, being performed, what action do you want it to take, right? What comes in next? And under action, you have several options, okay? So the first one here is navigate to. Now, what this does is when you click on navigate to, what happens here is you are saying, okay, after this trigger has been completed, move or switch over to a particular screen or a particular frame. That's what that does. Then you actually have here change to, and what change to means basically is if that was a component, right? And this particular component has several variants. Now you can actually change that particular component for its variants. Then you also have back, and which basically takes you to what go back to the previous page where you're coming from. You have scroll to, and your scroll to works like an anchor link, right? So if you remember, or if you've interacted with a website that has an anchor link, when you get to click on it, it scrolls, takes you scroll down to a particular point on a particular page. That's an anchor link. Then you also have here open link, and this is if you want, when you click on this, you wanted to open a particular URL on your browser. That's how that works. You also have set variable, and this is the more advanced part of Figma prototyping. And here you could actually declare and set variables and assign values to them. You also have set variable mode. You can get to switch modes for variables that you have. You also have conditions. And here, this is really, really interesting. And I think we're going to have like a more advanced class for this. And you can actually set stuff like, okay, so an example for conditioning is, so take for example, if I was building an e-commerce platform and I am prototyping the quantity, you can actually get to add certain increase in numbers of quantity for a particular product item. You could actually have a condition like, if the cart, is empty, right? If the cart is zero, you know, uh, make the button, so you can have like your add your buy now button, or your add to cart button is going to be disabled, something like that basically. Or let's say the buy now button will be disabled. Or an example is let's say you have the login screen, you know if the password or if the input field is empty, get to leave the login or the sign up button as the state of disabled. You have stuff like that. Then you also have open overlay, and this is really beautiful. So what this does is when you click on open overlay, it opens the selected item you actually have as a modal pop-up on the screen. You also have swap overlay. You can actually swap a modal for another modal. You also have close overlay, and that simply means just closing that particular pop-up or that particular modal display. So that's what it does. Now in my case here, I want after the screen has stayed for 2 seconds, I want it to navigate to my onboarding screen. So in this case here, what I will do here is what click on navigate to. Then this is going to ask me, where do I want to navigate to, right? Where's the destination? Now, this is where you go about selecting the page where you want to navigate to. Now, in this case here, the name of my frame here is called onboarding screen. So what I will do here is I can simply just come over here and search for onboarding screen. And, I have three, but just by hovering on them, I can actually tell which is which. So I'm just going to come over here and click that. Now that's done. You have your animation. How do you want that to animate? So the movement, the transitioning from this screen here, splash screen to the onboarding screen, how do you want that to be? If you set it to be instant, immediately it just switches the page. No form of animations, no form of smoothing or ease in and ease out, kind of movement. So in this case here, it just goes instantly. So you can actually get to see how this currently looks like now. So I'll come over here, I'll click on this, and I'm going to just preview this design by pressing my shift space bar, and I would simply just move this over to the side here. And you can see we have this right here. After 2 seconds, instantly it just switches over to this here. Okay. Now, if you want to do a more like customizations in this case here, I could say, okay, fine, change the animation to dissolve. And let's see how that works. So when you do that, you could actually set, how do you want the curve to be? You could say is in, is out. What duration do you want to set for the animation? I'm just going to leave that at 300 milliseconds. And let's, refresh. So then you have this. And you can see when you use dissolve, you can see how it just kind of like fades out into the background. You also have smart animate, and smart animate is really quite fun and really interesting. I think we're going to explain smart animate much better at a later time. Okay, but what smart animate does is it actually takes notes of the whole item, the whole element in a frame. You get to read stuff like, is there a change in position of a particular element? Do a particular element, was it available on the previous screen? And stuff like that. So we're going to see how this actually works while we try to prototype several other screens. Okay, so I'm just going to come over here and let's just use instant for now. Okay, let me just use instant for now. And you have this right here. So as for the states, I'm not going to be changing over here because we're not scrolling and I don't have any component I want to reset in this case here. So I will just leave this the way it is. And if I should come over here to my preview and you can see how that works. We have this quite simple. Okay, now we are currently on this screen now, our onboarding screen, and we're looking at prototyping this. Now, on the onboarding screen, we have several ways users can actually, interact with the screen. Now, one is they could actually go about swiping, they can actually swipe left and right, to switch between the onboarding screens. They could also click on continue, right? The continue option here, to go over to the next screen. They could also come over here and click on the skip option, to skip this and go over to the next page. So we're going to be looking at how we can actually go about doing this. Now, let's start to do this one at a time. Now, what I'll do over here is this. Let's get to work on the swiping functionality. Okay, let's get to work on the swiping functionality. Now, what I'll do over here is this. I will click on my frame, which is this over here. And the reason why I'm doing this here is because user can actually swipe at anywhere within the screen. So I'm going to be clicking the entire screen in this case. Now, the shortcut, like I told you guys before, was what? You can actually click on this and you can drag it and point this over to this over here, which is the next screen. Now in this case here, the trigger I actually have available here says on tap. But you and I know that we're not looking to tap on the screen because if we look closely at this, what this means here is if I click on tap, you can see it navigate to the next screen. And that is not what I want. I want to be able to drag, okay? To be able to drag. So what I'll do here is I'll come over here to my trigger and I'm going to say what? On drag this time around because literally you'd have to, drag the screen to like swipe left and right. When you're swiping on your phone, you basically drag it. That's what it does. That's the trigger you have here on Figma. So I'm going to say what on drag. Now, when you use the on drag function or the on drag trigger, you actually have the next thing here. What is the action? What do you want to do? And in my case here, I actually want to navigate to the screen, and I have already that already has been set in this case here. It's beautiful. Now the next thing we actually have here is what is the animation we want to perform in this case. Now this is where it gets tricky because you want to be really mindful of a whole lot of stuff here. And what I mean by this here is how the next screen or how the next frame is going to be coming in is very, very vital. So in this case here, you have to be very, very cautious. So let's look at this here and see how this works. Now, if I come over here and I drag, all right, so let's so you see here I say on drag, but you can notice one thing here. I'm trying to drag from the right to the left hand side, and you can see nothing is actually happening here. Can you see nothing is actually happening here? And that is because of the direction that I have set for this here. But you can see when I get to drag from the left to the right, do you see what's happening? And this is actually a wrong way for you to have your screens appear, because you should be swiping from the right to the left for you to be able to see the next screen, and not from the left to the right. So in this case here, what I will do is to come over here and adjust my directions. I'll see this over here, all right, from the right to the left. Okay. Now, if I should come over here and I do this, can you see this here? So can you see? So we have this now. It's looking nice. But at this point in time here, this is not nice as well too, because it looks like the screen basically is kind of like covering the next screen that I'm actually bringing it on. And you can actually tell, you see you can have two buttons. It's bringing over the illustration all over again. It's bringing over our indicators, which is the three. You can see this blue dot, the three dots you have there, one blue and the other grayed out. It's also bringing in our status bar where we have our time and our illustration all together. Now this is really, really bad, not the best experience. So what we'll do over here is now let's come over here and let's see what animate matching layers. And this kind of like gets interesting. And I want us to see what happens when we do this. Now after I have done that, now if I try to click over, can you see what's happening here? Now Figma does something really, really interesting. Now, when you click on animate matching layers, and this works just like Smart Animate, it takes note of, oh, on this screen that is coming in now, is there any change, right? Is there something that's present on the previous screen that is not in the screen? And if there is, is there any change in its position? And these are the things that it gets to notice. And I'm going to explain that here now. So you can see here, it's no longer bringing in the button anymore. Neither is it bringing in the skip option or our status bar, right? It just brings in the illustration and also the text that I have over here, because this text here are two different things. They're all different. So now, if you click over here, you can see here the text is different from what I have over here. You can see they're all different text. Now, in this case here, we're going to begin to what? Prototyping this the right way, okay? So if I click on this to show back my prototyping settings, now you can see clearly that move in is not the best, animation to use in this case here. I want to have a very, very smooth transition where I want to have, as I'm sliding in, I want the request for mechanic title, everything over there to be moving out while the new one is coming in. Okay, that is what I want us to achieve. Now let's try out a different animation and get to see what that is going to get us. All right, let's do that. Now, what I'll do here now is I will be changing the animation from move in. Okay, so there is no need of using move out because it almost functions the same way. All right, it's the same thing. So if I come over here and I click right, you can see it's literally the same thing. Only thing here is what the previous item is now moving out with the already as with the new item, already in the background already. So we're not going to spend our time doing that. Now, before I head over to push, I want to use sliding. Okay, so if I click on sliding, all right, and let's see how that works. Now, if I come over here and I slide, can you see what's happening here? Now, what's happening here is what the current items you have over here is kind of like fading out while the new one is sliding in, and this is really not good. This is not the best interaction at all. The best prototyping with prototype this over here. Now in this case here, the best animation is to use push, and this is the absolute best. Now what happens here is what it pushes the current item we have over here while also was pushing in the new one. So it's kind of like the new slide is pushing the old one and representing the new one. So you get to see something like this over here. Now if I click on this right here, can you see it? This is really beautiful. All right, so you can see it slides out the other item and the new one comes back in. Now this is what you want to do. Okay, now if I take this back again and do this, you can see we have this over here. Take this back again and do that quickly. And see this is what we have over here. Okay, so in this case here, push is the best animation to use in cases like this. All right, now the next thing we'll do here is let's get to animate for the other screens as well. And the beautiful thing here is I love how Figma works. It's kind of like takes note of the previous settings, and you can actually apply that to my next prototype. So what I'll do here is I'll come over here and I'll click on this, and you can see here it kind of like maps everything here, but you need to also confirm or check the trigger, because in most cases it doesn't copy the details of the trigger. All right, so we're actually using what the on drag trigger. Okay, so on drag, navigate to, we're using push, and this is really beautiful. Okay, and I can see here, if I come over here, I can also drag over to this screen over here. Okay, now at this point here, I want to slide back. How do I go back? I need to go back in this case here. How do I do that? Now, this is actually not hard. Now, what I will be doing over here now is this. I am going to be coming over here where I have the screen. Just simply click on the screen here. And what I'll do here is I'll come over here and point this over back to this screen here. Okay. Now, when you do this, remember, uh, on drag as well too. Okay, navigate to, everything looks good, but the only difference here now would be the direction. All right, now if you recall, we've all been, when we're sliding from the left, from the right, to dragging from the right hand side towards the left. Now in this case here, the direction is going to change. Okay, so if I'm on this screen here and I want to head over to the second, I'll be moving from the dragging from the left towards the right. So you're going to come over here and choose what the right direction. So I'll come over here and click what right direction. You can actually see how this works here just by hovering on this prototype here. You can see how that works. I'll do the same thing for this screen as well too. Or before anything, let's see how that works. Now if I come over here and I drag, you can see it works. Now let's do the same thing for the second onboarding screen. So I'll click on onboarding screen 2, and you can simply just come over here and just point it. All right, and remember, change the trigger to what on drag, as well as the direction, which works perfectly fine. It really took note of that as well, and I have this right here. Now if I come over here, I can drag this over here, and I can also continue my prototype, and you have this right here, which is beautiful. So if you got it all the way to this point, clap for yourself. All right, so the next thing I'll do over here now is I would like to prototype my continue button. Now, if I get to click on continue, what happens? All right, I would want to do that as well too. Now, in this case here, what I'll do is I'll select my continue button, and I'm just going to point that over directly to the next screen, all right, which is my onboarding screen. And in this case here, I'm going to use on tap, all right, not on drag, because we're not going to be dragging the button. We're simply going to be tapping the button. And I'm still going to use the same interaction property, navigate to, the animation in this case here being push, exactly, because I want to maintain that same interaction, and animation as well too. And I have this over here. So if I come over here and I click on continue, all right, so you can see what happened here. But something is wrong in this case here. So let's go back over to this one here. And you can see here, when I click on continue, you see what happened? It's coming in from the left hand side. All right, see this here, which is not supposed to be so. It should be coming from the right. So remember, come over here and change the direction to to left direction. Now if I come over here and I click on this, you can see you have this over here now. If I come back again, you can see you have this coming in from the left hand side, from the right hand side rather. And I'll do the same thing as well too for the next continue button. So I'll come over, click on this, and I'll point this over to this right here. Okay, on tap, direction is actually good as well. So if I come over here and I click, all right, works perfectly fine. Now, we have the get started button, which is this right here. So I'll click on this right here and I'm going to navigate point over to what? To my welcome screen. Okay, so I say when they get to click on the get started button, it should take them over to the login screen. So you have something like this here. Now you have on tap. Now in this case here, I do not want to have this push animation. So which is if I click on this right here, it then pushing this. Okay, so let's see. You have this over here. You know, you might want to have something, like this here. You might want to have something like this. But this is actually is not so bad as well. So you might want to say you want to use smart animates. Now in this case, when you use smart animates, what happens is like I said before, smart animates takes note of the element you have on the current screen and the element you have on the screen you're navigating to and see if there's any change in position. Now in this case here, if I come over here and I click on get started, you see what happened? Kind of like fades out and you have the login page, the login button move over from the bottom, which is this right here, over here to the top. And this is what you currently have with this here. All right, if you look at the push option, we have it right here, and you click on this, you can see this is what happens. All right, and if we come over here and switch this here to smart animates, you can see this is what happens. All right, so I can just use smart animates for this screen here, nothing bad with this. Now, we're simply going to, do the same thing for our skip button. All right, so you have this right here, skip. Now, this is just for them to skip the animation. So what I'll do over here is I'm just going to select all the whole skip, right? Now, you can simply just click on it, holding your shift key to select all the skip options. That works fine. Or you could actually use this trick I normally use. And it's basically, I'll come over here, click on one skip option, and I come over here, click on this right here, select matching layers. And in this case here, it selects all the three skip options. All right, then I'll navigate back to my prototype and then I just want to link them over all to the screen I have right here. And I have on tap, navigate to smart animate, ease in and out, and I am good in this case here. Okay, I am good in this case here. And now we simply have this, right? We simply have our login screen. And let's get this out. So if I come over here and I click on skip, right, so you have this over here. Okay, now the next things you get to do. So just ignore some certain things you see over here. Like take for example, this arrow is not supposed to be right here, but we can just hide this for now. So now we have this screen here, which is what, and um, this right here is the phone number, the login screen. Okay, where users can actually log in. And what we could actually do here, we could actually do a few things over here. Now, so take for example, if I want to get to set certain things, take for example, that when I get to click on this, once like have like it set like an active state and stuff like that, we could actually do stuff like that on this over here. But just thinking, since we didn't originally include that in the design, we probably might just just do a few things here, just do a few things here. So what I want to do here is let me just expand the screen a little bit. So I would click on this and just move this over a little bit to the right. Okay, and I will just be doing a few things. Okay, just a few things. So I'm just going to create like an empty state and a filled state. Okay, so I will just do this and duplicate. And let's just take, for example, over here, and this right here becomes filled. Okay, so I'm just going to complete this. Empty, filled. Right, so we have this over here. The next thing I'll do here would be to set this as a field state. Now I'll come over here and simply just change the value of this. Also, I would be making this a little bit bolder. That body large. Also, the color would also have to change. I'll also copy the same property for that and just paste that over here and assume that over there is the password. And I had an icon over here, which I'm going to turn on, and I'll change the icon to have to the eye icon. All right, let's just say I have this over here. I noticed there was some kind of change in the height of this item here. Okay, let me just make that fixed. So, we don't have any changes over here. Okay, so we have this over here. And I'm just going to say here, right? If I get to click on the phone number, I wanted to easily navigate over to this. We could just do that, really, really, really simple and, straight to the point. Um, I could even have this look disabled. But in this case here, I don't think we are designed or considered the disabled state of this button. So we're just going to make this really, really simple. So I would say here, if I get to click on one of these right here, I just want it to automatically fill this up. So I could come over here and switch over to prototype. I'm not worried. Maybe in some of our other videos, we might get like create like a really, really extensive prototype. But I don't want this to like take so long. So for the sake of time, so we have this right here on tap, navigate to smart automate, definitely smart automate. And what I'll do here is when I click on this right here, you can see it just kind of like fill all of this up ASAP. I could also quickly design the, kind of like make this look disabled in a way. I could, kind of like set something up real quick and having this look like a disabled button. Let me get to use the, okay, so let me just say I want to just use this for now. By the way, I'd like to make a few changes. I don't want the changing in the height to affect, any spacing I already have. So just want to quickly just change the button size a little bit. Please, my accept my apology on this, little U-turn we have over here. Okay, now what we have is this. when user gets to click on this, simply just fills it up and then you have the login screen. And where we have the login, we could actually prototype this and see where you have the login. I wanted to, take them directly to the home screen. Now, what we can do here is locate the home screen and just point them directly to the home screen. And as for the home screen, I have that exactly at the bottom. So I can come over here and we have something over here. All right. I can have that here. Click on this, and I'm just going to drag this all the way down to where I have my home screen, which is this right here. Okay. So I have this here. So the interaction here is on tab, navigate to home screen, smart animate, and let's see how that works when I click on this. And yep, I have this right away. And I think we good on that screen there. The next thing we have here is quite a few things. If you look closely at what we have, now I'm noticing a few things. You really don't need to have this navigation button. But let's take, for example, that we want to. Oops, the change I made actually did mess this up, this layout a little bit. It actually did mess it up a little bit. Um, okay, all right. So let's say in this case here, where I have the welcome back screen, and I want this here to like take me back, so let's say previous screen. What I could do is I could come over here and select this. Okay, I could select this, and this would literally, um, take the user back to the previous page. And I think by default, this already has a prototype installed already. Um, so what I'll do on this over here is I'll simply come over here, click on this, and I'll just add an interaction, and I'll say on tab, I would say on tab, and I will set this to back. If you guys remember, take back to the previous screen. Okay, so if I'm coming from this screen here and I click on get started, and if I come over here and I click on back, this is what happens. It takes me back to the previous screen. So that we've actually used the back option now. Okay, so now directly on the login screen, let's get to work on the sign up. Okay, so you guys know how the sign up works. I would just do one thing here, which is select both of them because both the sign up option, and I would link that up to the sign up page. So I'll click on this and drag this to this page here, and I would have to rename this as well too. So this right here is my sign up screen. Okay, now I have this here. Now I could, save myself the time of having to create, a field state for this, you know, and just, go with this right here. So what I would say is when I click on the create an account, just navigate over to this page here, with ease. So I have this right here on tab, right? When I click on it, navigate to smart animate as well. Apologies on this button as well again. I would have to sort this out as well. So let me just make the changes. I should have just left the button the way it is then, but I should have just left it the way it was. Okay, now we have the screen. So let's see what we have done so far. Let's see what we have done so far. Now, what I want to do here is I literally would like to prototype all of my back button. And I think one thing that will make it very, very easy for me, yeah, instead of having to prototype all of this button over and over and over again. So what I'll do is I'm just going to do something really, really simple, which is I'll come over here, right? And where I have this, if you guys remember, I was it this? I think yeah, I think it was this. Yeah, it was this. So what I'll do here is I'm just going to delete that, and what I'll do here is I'll select this my leading icon, which takes me back, and I'm going to come over here and click on this right here, select all matching layers. And when I do that, it's going to select all of the back, all of the back arrow keys I have right here. And what I'll do is do here is what head over to prototype, and I would say um, add this interaction on tab, and I'll just say what go back. Okay, and I will do this for this screen as well.
You know, if I originally had the main component inside this design, I would have just done that directly from there. But I actually used the M3, pick the component directly from M3, the top R bar directly from M3. Hence the reason we have that, over here. Okay, so let's come back here. We have the, welcome back. When you click on login, it takes them directly to the home page. Now, oops, let's come back right here again. Okay, now when I get to click on sign up, it takes them over to the sign up page. And what I would love to do here is something quite simple, and which is I don't think I want to use smart animate in this case here. I would simply just use instant instantly. All right, so I click on this and you just have that change quickly. And what I want to do here as well so easy when I get to click on create accounts, simply just takes me over to the verify OTP. Remember, you can take out your time to duplicate this and get to create the field states for all of this. Now we have this right here where we have the verify OTP, you know, currently here. Now what we could do is, I think I'm just going to take a while, a little bit. So what I'll do here is I'm going to create a field state for the verify OTP. So I'll come over here, click on this, duplicate, and in this case here, the OTPs are literally going to be filled with something. Okay, so what I'll do over here now is, so here I'll just say, let's say this right here is 8, 9, 4, 0, 9. Okay, so let's say this right here is our OTP. And I'm just going to, increase the sizes of this. It's not going to be this tiny. And let me make that a little bit bigger. Okay, so let's see, I'm using this for the OTP. Okay, let's say I'm using this for the OTPs. Um, so with this done, I have this done. All right, and we just click on verify OTP. So just some few things I would like to change over here. Let me just have this appear disabled. So I will just give that grade 30. Okay, so we have this right here and here. So what I want to do here now is when I get to click on this, right, this field here, it changes to the field state. So I'll click on that section that I have over here. Click on prototype and just point this over to the next frame. Yeah, and I have on tap, navigate to, and I'm going to be using smart animate in this case here. Okay, all right. So you have something like this, smart animate, and you have the fields gets filled. Now the next thing I want to do here is when I get to click on, you have the field all filled up. We need to click on what verify OTP. Okay, and that brings us to a new interaction which we are going to be looking at in this case. Now, what I want to do here is when I click on verify OTP, I want to have this, pop up right on the screen, prompting me that my verification was successful. So what I'll do here is I will come over here and let's just quickly just point this over to this here. All right, I think that's the best way. Remember, that's the fastest way. And I have on tap, right? When I get to tap or click on the verify OTP button. Now you see here where we have the action navigate to. That is not the action we want to do here. So this is what happens here. We click on navigate to. This is what you see. All right. And this is not what we want. Now what we look at here is we want to have this pop up on the screen here. So we'd say when you click on verify OTP, if you guys remember, we have what open overlay, and that have this item appearing as a pop-up. Okay, so when you click on this right here, you can see you have this appearing as a pop-up directly on the screen here. Okay, now what we're going to be doing is just making a few changes to this. All right. Um, okay. All right. So let's click on the prototype. So we have this over here. Okay. And we have open overlay. Now the overlay is asking here, which is the name of this overlay, which is just here, the modal box. Notice now it's asking for the position. Where exactly do we want to have this modal box positioned? Okay, and in this case here, you can see what its position was on the center, which is why you get to see this right here, position exactly in the center. But if in this case here, I do not want to have this in center, I can choose several places to align. So you can see here you have the top center, which is what you see over there, bottom center, which is at the bottom. In this case, you even have manual. And with the manual, you can freely position this item here anywhere you want, on the screen. And it just takes that shape or that placement. But in this case here, I want it to be in the center. Okay, so I'd say what's aligned to the center. All right, in this case here. And with this done, the next thing I'll be doing here is I will use the opportunity to explain, setting several other settings. And you can see here, this says close when clicking outside. Now, what this does is when I go to click outside, which is outside the mother box, I want it to close this overlay. Now you can see here, this is not selected, this is not checked. But the moment I click on this right here, and I click anywhere outside, you can see what it closes the overlay. Okay, so I'm going to uncheck that. Now the next thing I want here is what is the background. I want to add the background. Okay, when this overlay appears, you can see you have a background, and you can actually make adjustment to that background. So let's say if I want to make this to be darker, if I give this 40, you can see you have a much more darker screen. If I say, oh, give this 80, you can see you have a way much darker screen. Okay, now let's say I want to set it for about 65. I have this over here. Okay, now with this done, you can choose the animation. All right, do you want it to happen instantly? Do you want it to dissolve in? Do you want it to fade out? So let's come over here. So you can see here, I actually unchecked the close when clicking outside. Now you can see there, as much as I click outside, it's not going to close, which is exactly what I want. You don't want anyone to be able to click outside. The only call to action you want them to be able to do here is what is to click on the continue button, which is what you have right here. Okay, now in this case here, what you could do is very, very simple. You could just leave it this way if you're cool with this. So let's check out the resolve again. So we click on this, click on verify OTP, and you have this resolve it to the background. So if you're cool with this, quite fine. But you have to be consistent with your prototyping when prototyping, right? Your animation, you have to be a little bit consistent as well too. So let's say from the continue, when I click on continue, I want them to, quickly um, turn on the location to see mechanics nearby. All right, so you can actually have something really, really simple, or I can have that take them directly to the home screen. So I can come over here and click on that plus, right, and just point that over to the home screen, which is what I have over here. Now, if you have a very, very large screen, you might not have to do this, stress yourself with this. All you can simply do here is, click on this right here, navigate to, then click on search for the screen and just select it, and you're good in that case. Okay. All right. Now, with that done, let's look at this over again. I click on verify OTP, click on continue, and it takes me over to the home screen. Okay. Now we're actually missing one connection, which is the forgot password. Okay. So I'm going to come over here and select both forgot password. Okay. And I'll be pointing that. So you know what? Let's do it the way I spoke about already. So we can see here we have the forgot password, which is this right here, reset password. So what I'll do here is I'll simply come here, click on add interaction on tab. Definitely remember, you're going to be using what? Navigate to. Destination is the page. In this case, is what forgot password. So you can simply even just type it F, right? Um, where is it? Where is it? So we have it here, forgot password, which is this hyphen reset password. And you can see instant works fine for me. You can see it takes you directly over here. So if I come here now and I click on this, you see this right here. Okay, now that this is done, right, um, I would have to come over here and run a few settings. I should have just left the button the way it was. I should have just left the button the way it was. But that's fine. Let me try to reset this. Reset the size. Oh no. Okay. I don't know if these are like two different buttons, but I will just have to check design later on. Okay, so say we have, we have this right now. If you all remember, please, if you remember, you could actually set different states for all of this over here. You could actually set different states for this over here. But, but, so you know what I want to do here is, I was looking at, using another option to explain a few things, but you know what? I think it's cool. It's fine. So in this case here, you could actually go about creating other several other screens, like a field states after you've actually filled this in, the verified screen after you fill this in, and several other screens. So when this is actually filled, currently that's empty. The OTP fields are empty. You can actually create as well to when they are filled. I think we can actually do that together. Okay, we can quickly just do that together. So we'll come over here. So I can create the default state. By the way, hopefully in the other video we'll be creating where we have advanced prototyping, I could show you how to go about just using a single screen without having to, create two different screen. You can actually do that, using set variables and condition and the likes. Yeah, but that's that aside. All right, that aside. So say we have this. So I don't want there to be any visible changes. The height of this here is 52, so I will just stick to that. So we don't have like any visible change in this case here. Okay, so we have this, and remember we can prototype that. So I'll come over here and see when I click on this, simply just navigate to the next page. All right, so you have this over here. On tap, navigate to Smart Animate actually, and I have this right here. So you see something like this, I click here, you know, you have this field here. Then we could actually link the reset password over to the verify OTP, and so it's really quite straight, quite straight to the point. And here, where we have the fields. Okay, so let's just say we have this. And then we could actually link the verify OTP as well. So you could have the same pop-up. So I think it's more of like a repetition. So I would just, skip this part here as well too. Okay, because we have when the OTP is verified, you have that option telling you the OTP was verified. Then you have an option here to set the new password, and we can, just fill in all of this information that we have over here. So please just ignore all of this resetting that we have to do over and over again. Kindly ignore that. Okay, so here we have these few things. All right, and then when the password has been set, we can simply just point that over here. I think I will go with this. I think we have like two different screens, so you could actually choose which to go for. Let me just point this over to this on tap, and we have this over here. So you click on this, you have this straight up, and then when you click on the login, we can prototype the login to take us directly to the login page. So I'll come over here and say add my interaction on tap, navigate to destination. Here would be login. So I have the login empty view, empty state. And there we go, guys. There we go. So let's look at what we've done so far. Okay. So let me reset this. Let me restart this prototype. All the way back to our splash screen. So we have our splash screen, and we are able to navigate through this page, get started. We have an option to fill this in. Um, Once we log in, we are directed to the home page. When we click on sign up, it takes us to verify OTP. We'll fill this up. Verify OTP, continue, takes us to the home page. We also have where we have the forgot password. We get to fill this in. We click on reset password. Okay, I think we didn't verify this part here. So let's get to link that part. So it's always nice for you to, check out your prototype as well too. So let me just point it over to this. All right, on tab, smart and limits. I will click on this, verify OTP. We haven't set this as well too. So I'm just going to set it for this first option here as well. Navigate to this, on tab, smart and limits. I'm cool with that. And reset password. We click on login. Takes us to the home page, and I think we acquired. I think I'm okay with what we have here so far. Now let's head over to the home screen. Okay, now on the home screen, we have this right here. Okay, now I'm going to be using this, I'm going to be explaining a few things for us on the home screen. I'll be explaining a few things. So, one here is I'll be linking to the possible pages that we have available. Okay, so let's say the first one here is finding for mechanics around, and we're going to be looking at doing that. But before we head over there, I actually want us to look into prototyping this. Okay, I actually want us to look into prototyping this, and I think this is really going to be very, very vital as well too for us. Okay, this is going to be vital for us as well. Now let's do that. Okay, so over here you will notice that we have this page, right? We have the services, we have orders, we have the auto store. Um, so let me see. I think here we have history. That's the order history. I should have changed that to order history. So we have the order history. Um, we haven't sorted out the services, neither we sorted out the auto store, those pages. So we're going to look into that, and then look into how we can protect the other flows. So over here, what we can do is this. 1 minute to quickly finalize this. Okay, all right, cool. Okay, so now looking closely at what we have, I missed I mixed a little few things up. Just one thing up basically. And that was a verification successful. And from the flow we've actually mapped out, we wanted once the verification successful, we wanted it to take them over, to them having to add a variable. But we currently mapped as the verification successful all the way down to the home screen. So I am going to correct that. Now, how do I go about relinking what I've already linked already? Now, what I'll do here is you can see here where I have my continue, right? I will just click on that and I'm just going to relink this, just click and drag, and I'll point it over to the verification successful screen, which is what I have over here. Okay. And you have on tap. All right. I'm just going to just have this right here. Just say, just leave it as smart admit. Just leave it as smart admit. Okay. So what we're doing here now is, we're trying to add, the add very cool flow. Okay. So, which is where we currently are now. But from there, I got to spot that little issue, which is what I just corrected right away. Now that we've linked the verification successful continue button over here, and let's continue from where we stopped. Now, when you want to add a variable, they have three options. One here is to add a variable using the Vim. The second is to add manually, and the third is to skip for now. And we are going to be looking at all of those options. Now we'll come over here to have add using Vim, and you can see the page right here, add variable using Vim. So I believe you all know the drill by now. Click on that and point it over to add variable using Vim. On tap, you could use smart animates, but I could just get to just have this, instantly. We have add manually, and I'll point this over to this here where they have to input the information of this page all manually. Then you have the skip for now, and the skip for now, this I'm going to link over to my home screen. Okay, now I'll come over here, add this, navigate to destination would be my home screen, which is what I have over here, and I am good. Now with this done, I would definitely want to link the continue button. So I'm not going to get to create the field state for this anymore. Nah, I won't stress myself with that. I'm going to link that over to the add variable details. So when you get to put in the VM information, it would be nice to have like some kind of loading effect, saying, getting very cool information and then confirm very cool details. That would be really really nice and interesting to have. But to save us time, let's just get to have this right here. Then I have here say on tap, navigate to. I have this. You could use instant. I think I'm cool with this, and we have something really really good here. Okay, and then where I have submit. Now we can actually do something really interesting with this here. All right, so I'll do the same thing for this as well. All right, where I have submit, point that over to this. Okay, so let's get to see how that looks now. So if I should preview this, so you have three options here. Add using Vim, they get to put in the Vim information. Then they get to confirm all of the car details or information. They get to click on submit. Okay, I don't think I have linked this. I haven't, right? But it's just quite straight to the point. If you click on add manually, it takes them for them to input all of this information manually. If you click on skip for now, it takes them over to the home screen. So you have this information all set. Now, if you notice one thing, I don't know if you realize one thing, and that is, while trying to scroll, the status bar and the top up bar are scrolling, and it's not supposed to be so, right? These guys, they are never supposed to scroll. Your top up bar is always fixed in certain instances, your status bar as well too is always fixed at all instances. So we're going to be looking at how can we go about fixing our status bar and our top up bar. Okay, now remember the trick. I don't come here and start selecting all the status bars one at a time. So what I'll do here is head over to my design, click on one status bar, and I'll come over here and click on what select matching layers. And this is going to select the entire status bar that I have. So you can see this, all the selected. Those are my status bars. So a minute. All right. So with that selected, I would head over to prototype. And you see here, position says scroll with parents, but that's not what I want. So I'll come over here and just see, you know what, fix, right? Stay in the place. Now, once that is done, let's see how that works now. If I click on this, you can see our status bar is fixed. Doesn't change, all right? It's fixed. And let's get to do the same thing for the rest as well. I want to give this here a few. Oh, let's just continue. Now I'll do the same thing as well to you now for my top up bar. All right. Um, Let me click on that. Select matching layers. Head over to prototype, and I'll do the same thing as well to fixed, so it stays in the place. Now, as soon as I come over here and click on this, and you can see, you know, it stays in the place like it's supposed to. Okay, it stays in the place like it's supposed to. So you have this, done. Okay, okay. I see a lot of things that I wish to change, but it's fine. We can just go with what we have right here. Now that that is done, now that that is done, so that is how you can actually go about setting and giving items fixed, sticky or having them fixed in a particular position. So now that we have done that, let's continue our prototype. Okay, let's continue our prototype. Now, the next thing we have here is after confirming vehicle details, we have this little bottom sheet that gets to appear, where they can actually get to name their vehicle. So what I want to do for this here is I would click on this and I would navigate to this right here. I'll point that over to that. Now in this case here, I am not going to use navigate to. I'm going to use what we're going to call open overlay. Correct. And I would have this position at the bottom center. This is at the bottom of the screen. And I'm going to definitely add a background. And let me just leave it right here at 80. And I can say, okay, fine, let it happen instantly. And let's see how that looks. Now, the moment I click on this, you have something like this here. All right. If you want to use a dissolve, works perfectly fine as well. So So if you click on this, you have this, and you have the option to do all of that right here. Now let's say I'm done with this, and I want to have this save the vehicle. By the way, if you want to have like some kind of animation, you want to have the bottom sheet sliding. Very very simple. What do we do? I'm going to use what's moving. Now, when you get to use moving, you get notice one thing here, right? You need to also set the direction, and I always recommend use the right direction, right? Always use the right direction. For bottom shade, this should be coming from the bottom all the way to the top. So I'm going to come over here, and I'll be using this right here. Okay. So you have there, come to the top, and this is how it works. You click on this, you have this. Quite simple and straight to the point. Okay, so I'm using the moving from the bottom to the top. Don't do stuff like this here where this is really this is really ridiculous. All right, don't use stuff like this here where you have that come from the top. No, it's not supposed to. All right, from the bottom to the top. All right, so you use the right direction in cases like this. And we have this. We click on it, and I would say here we click on save vehicle. Just prototype this directly to this page. This here says on top navigate to. Definitely don't use moving. Please don't use moving. You can use dissolve. You can use instant. If I want to use the instant, I have this quite simple, straight to the point. So let's view this again. Say very cool. All right. And we have go to home. We can take that all the way back to the home page. So I can come over here on tab, navigate to home, home screen, instant, and we good. Now you click on this. Now we are back to the home screen. Okay, so now we have actually done that part. Now the next thing we want to look into here is let's look at prototyping the find mechanic section. Okay, now say we are here and we have this. Okay, so I get to click on find a mechanic. All right, so let's say over here we click on the find a mechanic, and let me just point that over to this right here. Now we have on top navigate to definitely instance, and you have this. So when you click on this, you have this right here, prompting you to turn on location. And if I would like to close this, I could simply just point the close button over to this as well too. So this just looks like it's a pop-up actually, and you have this navigating back to the home screen, and you have this. Okay. Now, we didn't get to further create the whole settings. When I get to click on tunnel location, it takes them to the settings. Let's say I click on skip for now. All right, it's going to navigate them over to this page here, and I'm good with this. So come over here, click on skip for now, and you're currently on this page. Okay. Now, when I get to click on the back arrow here, I think I would simply just give this here set us to just navigate back to the previous screen. So add this on tap, back. Okay. Okay, so we have this set. Now I'll just close this. So say from here they click on find a mechanic, or they click on choose a vehicle, you have this here. Now ideally, I would have had this, just swap out, but it's fine. So let's say they click on that. You simply have this. So you have this here. I wouldn't say using smart ornaments because ideally I would have, chosen to have this, just swap. So let's just use smart ornament for this right here. It gives you that nice, feel to it. Okay, so you have smart ornament. And let's see, in this case here, I get to choose a Honda Civic. I'll navigate to this page as well. And I see small animator as well. So you can see you have this over here. And the moment you click on find a mechanic, which is this right here, you can simply just point that over to this page that you have right here. And you have this, and you have this option over here. Now, this in this case here, right? After the entire search, let's say after this search is complete, you know, you get to have something like this, which is this right here, where you have this page. So in this case here, we could just set an after delay of, let's just say, 5 seconds. So I have this, just wait for like 5 seconds, and it just, shows some of the available workshops I have right here. Okay. And if you look closely at what we have right here, I want us to look closely at what we have right here. Now, this is actually very, very tricky, right? And the reason why I say this is because, there are cases where I should be able to expand this, to be able to review or see more, right? Because I don't like, how this looks like. So you could actually do one of a few things. If we want to have this have like a static height, so let's say, let me just use an example first of all. I want this right here to just be static. Okay, I should be able to scroll and get to see more in this case here. Now, what I will do here is something that possibly we might have used in class, but which is this right here. Now, if you look closely here, I can't scroll, right? I can't scroll, even though I have a whole lot more, workshops hidden here. How do I do that? How do I find my way around this? Now, what I'll do here is where I have my overflow, I'll click on this right here, and I'm going to say what's vertical scrolling. And that's because, I want to scroll from top to bottom, and that is a vertical scroll. If it was a carousel, which is scrolling from left to right, I will be using horizontal scroll. Now, after I use this here, you're going to see this prompt here. Okay. Now, what it says here is what for scrolling to work on this frame, the content needs to be bigger than the frame. Currently, sorry guys, currently the content is actually set to fit or fill in the current height of this frame. So what we're going to do here is we're going to reduce the size of this frame. So I'll come over here and I'll just reduce this. Okay, just reduce this. Now, having done this right here, you could see that um, um, that exclamation mark we have over here, or that caution sign we have over here, is gone. Now, if you look closely at what I did here, you can see right now I can now scroll. But we're currently facing another issue. Okay, we're currently facing another issue, and the other issue we are facing right here now is currently that the content is kind of like scrolling outside. Okay, and for me to quickly fix this, I don't want this to scroll past the search field. For me to fix this, I will be doing a few things. Okay, so one is I'm just going to adjust this right here to hit the bottom of this frame. All right. And I'll head over to my design, and remember I'll be using clip content in this case here. And I'm just going to give this right here a bottom padding of, let's just say, 16. All right. So I have this over here. Now let's see how that works now. Now when I'm scrolling, you can see it's kind of like scrolling above, and we have this, done. All right. We have this done and interactive. Yeah. Yeah. So you have this done and interactive. Now let's say we get to choose one of these workshops. Okay, so back to prototype, and I come over here and I navigate over to this right here on top, and I do this. So if I click on this, you have something like this right here, mapping from my location over to where the workshop is, and you can see all of this information. So you can see the orders. Now, if I come over here and I want to request for service, I click on this. I'll just point it over to this page. Okay. Now this here says on tap, right? Navigate to smart animate. Quite cool. Click on this, and you have this right here. Prompting the need to run, prompting the need to run a diagnosis. Okay. Now in this case here, if the user clicks on decline, I want to take them over back to the previous page. So I have this right here on tap, back to the previous page. So if I click on decline, and if I click on run diagnosis in this case here, take them over to this page here. So you have this right here. Okay. And this currently is set. So I untap smart animate, and you have this right here. Now, you have these other options here. Okay. And if you see, when I get to click on these options here, this is because of we've actually prototyped this right here from the main component itself. And you might ask, how's that working? We didn't do that before. Now, if you recall, we actually did get this guy from our M3 design. Okay, so if I head over to my design and I click on, go to the main components, you could actually see within this here, we actually have some prototypes as well. So if I click on this here, you can see they have, while hovering, while pressing, you can see you actually have several prototypes, linking to this right here. So in this case here, you can see that this actually has been prototyped. Okay, it has been prototyped, and that is why you get to see this right here. When you hover, you can see it has a few. That's because we've set for while hovering, which is right here. You also have when selected or when clicked. You have all of that, all set. So I would want to go back to the previous return to my instance. So let's just say I have this right here. Now, what I want to do is, so if I get to click on this, just navigate over to this right here. Doesn't do something really, really simple. Okay, so I say if I click on this, okay. All right, let's just get to link this entire field over here. Okay. All right, so I had to come over here and set the reset component state because if I didn't do that, we're gonna have some struggles. So if I click on this right here, okay, cool. So you can see that kind of like help us to reset that. Now when I click on the continue payment, I would point this over to this as well. All right, so click on this. You have this quickly set up, and I'll just say when I click on pay, right, you're gonna have something. Just have this right here. On tab, smart animate, right? Something really, really simple. Cancel payments should, kind of like take them back to this previous page here. And, we are good. We are good. Now we can have this option here that says something really simple. So here, back to home page, we can prototype that, add an interaction on tab, navigate to destination, the home screen, and we have the track mechanics. I'll click on this right here and I would just point it over to this right here, for them to track the mechanics movement. Okay. And the moment you do this, you have something like this right here. Now, I want to get to create another screen here. And what's going to happen on this screen here is, something quite interesting, which is, well, if I do that, let me just duplicate this page. Okay. Now, what I want to do here is this frame that we have right here, we should be able to, when I get to drag this, up to like get to see more information, right, about the car issue. So if I want to do this, all right, I want to have, when I get to drag on this, I want to have this, scroll up or move up. Now, how do I do that? I can simply come over here and click on this, indicator that I have over here. And I would simply click on my prototyping tool and just point it over to this frame here. And what I'll do here is I'll say on drag, all right, navigate to, and I'll use smart animate as well too. Now you can see what's gonna happen here. When I click on this and drag, you can see you have that beautiful dragging effect. And we can do the same thing as well too for this as well. All right, point over to this, and I'll use on drag, smart animate as well too. So that way I can, prototype between this, dragging up and dragging down. All right, so that is another trigger that we have currently used on this page right now. And you could have several other screens as well too. Okay, and okay, so let's get to look at a few things. So let's look at how to, prototype this screens here. All right, the navigation bar, how we can prototype navigation bar. Now, I would not recommend prototyping navigation bar individually on the pages. What I recommend is head directly over to your main components. Okay, head directly to your main component. So in this case here, I'll go to my main component. And what I would do here is I would simply select the menus and link them to the correct or the right page. So I'll click on this right here and I would say prototype, add an interaction on tab, set this to navigate to. In this case here, all my others page is going to be going to the history. All right. So in this case here, let me just get the right page itself. And so we have the history, the empty states, right? We have the history, complete the completed. That's we have different tabs. But let's say I want to, move this over to this page, to this screen here, which is a history ongoing field. So I could simply just do that here, history ongoing field, and we have that pointed here. Now with this done now, if I am to come over to my home page, you can see here, this is already linking over here. I don't have to go about doing that over again. So if I click on this, it takes me to the ongoing screen. All right, so let me just take this back and all right, so you have something as simple as this. Okay, now we can, do several other animations. So let's take, for example, where we have the view details. I can click on this card here and, just point that over to this. On tab, navigate to small ornaments, and, you have something as simple as this. If you want to get to see how dissolve works, you could also, click on dissolve and you see that, but I don't want to have that, that kind of like delay. So, you have something as simple as this here. Then you could also prototype your tabs as well too. Now in this case here, I can come over here and click on this and I'll just point that over to this right here. Okay. And you could just use small ornaments. All right. So if we click on this, you just have this over here and you can prototype this as well too, the ongoing field, and point that over to the next page as well. Untap small ornaments and you have something as simple as this here. Ideally, I would love to have that slide in. In fact, you know what? That's what we should do. So, when you have your tabs, when you switch between tabs, you're going to be having this kind of like slide in, right? When I say slide in, like just like we have we're working on the onboarding screen, that push effect. That's what we're going to do here. Okay. Now we're going to use push. Now when I click on it right here, okay, I want to have this move in. So this is the right direction. So you have this right here. When I click on ongoing, all right. And so what I'll do here is let's get to see how this works. Okay, now all right. So we've done this. Now what I'll do here is if you notice one thing here, when I click on this right here, you see that it's not having that push move in and move out effect. And I'm going to explain the reason why this is happening. No worries, I'll explain. But let me just get to do the prototyping for this other one as well. All right, and I'll use push. And yeah, so you have this and this. Now, the reason why we're not having the accurate push effect is because Figma currently sees these guys as the same thing. And if you look closely, you can see here from the naming, let me adjust this. From the frame naming here, you can see here, it's called frame 13, frame 130. And look at this here as well, so frame 130. So you know what I'll say? I'll just call this here container. So let me just say ongoing container. Okay, now we've currently renamed this right here to ongoing container. So Figma is going to see this as something different from this here. Now come over here to this one here, and I will rename this over to completed container. Now this is we're naming this differently so Figma gets to notice them as different items. Now let's see how the prototype works now. Now if I come over, click on this, can you see? Now we have that actual push effect. Beautiful, right? You can see you have the actual push effect. Now, in cases like this, where you get to experience, different items not moving, you see it just changing, try to rename them so Figma gets to see them as two different, items. Okay, and there you go. This is how to go about this prototyping. Okay, so please let me know if you have any questions. I think we can actually just, call it a shot here. You know what? Let's get to just do one last thing, which is the home screen. All right, the home navigation. Let's get to prototype the home menu. And this is just going to be like a recap. Okay, so what do you do? Head over to the main component. So I'll come over here and head directly to the main components. All right, click on my prototype. You can see here where we have our auto spin prototype too. But in our case here, I'm just going to click on menu. And one easy way to do this basically is you could actually come over here, click on this right here, select matching layers. It's really, really beautiful. It helps me. Believe me, it helps me. It saves me the stress of having to start selecting items one at a time. Just pick one item and come over here and click on select matching layers. And after you have done that, you can then click on your prototype, interaction on click, navigate to, destination definitely the home screen, animation definitely. You could actually use smart animate and you could. Now with this done, I can navigate back to the page I'm coming from, which is returning to instance. And from here, you can simply, click on this and you're back to the home screen. You're back to the home screen. Now you can see how we were able to, prototype this beautifully. So let me know if you have any questions. You can just, shoot me a message. And we're gonna have, hopefully, right? We can have like some really, really in-depth prototyping classes. All right. So take care, guys, and have a great day or evening.